There's a special kind of arrogance that lives in some homeowners associations. They start with good intentions of community, safety, order, but somewhere along the way, power goes to their heads. And before you know it, they're dictating what kind of curtains you can have, how often you mow your lawn, or in my case, whether or not you can hunt on your own land. Yeah, they find me for hunting, on my own, legally owned, legally zoned land. So, I did the only thing that made sense to me. I bought the land their favorite hiking trail crossed. And I shut it down, for good, but this isn't just a petty revenge story. This is about community, control, boundaries, and justice. Before we dive in, let me ask you, where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And if you've ever had an HOA horror story, get ready. You'll feel this one. My name is Jack. I live on a patch of woodland that's been in my family for 3 generations. My grandfather bought it back in the 60s. It's 15 acres of wild Tennessee beauty, hardwood trees, creeks, deer, turkeys, you name it. We've always used it for responsible hunting and wildlife management. When my granddad passed, I inherited the land and the old cabin on it. I left the city, quit the corporate grind, and moved out there to start over. I didn't expect trouble, especially not from the HOA of the nearby upscale development that had popped up over the last decade. They built a few hundred houses and called themselves Cedar Trails Community. Funny thing is, they didn't actually own any trails, not officially. But that didn't stop them from printing glossy community maps that showed hiking routes through my land. For years, people had wandered through the woods on the same old path, assuming it was public land. Back when my granddad was alive, he didn't mind. He even made friends with a few of the older residents. But as time passed, respect gave way to entitlement. When I first moved in, I noticed hikers all the time. Early mornings, weekends, even weekday afternoons. They came with kids, dogs, cameras. Most of them were harmless, until they weren't. I started finding trash in the woods, bottles, food wrappers, even broken branches and makeshift campsites. One time, someone had started a small fire pit less than 50 feet from my cabin. It was extinguished. I put up new signs of big, bold, reflective, private property. No trespassing. They disappeared. So I replaced them with metal ones. I even mounted trail cams to see who was removing them. And guess what? HOA members. Wearing their little polo shirts with the community logo. That's when I knew this wasn't just ignorance. This was war. It was early November. The leaves were golden and red, and the rut was on. I'd been tracking a particularly large buck for a week. Got up before dawn, headed into the woods, and sat in my blind. Around 6:45 a.m., I saw him. A perfect shot. One clean pull of the trigger. The buck dropped instantly. I was proud. That deer would feed me for months. By the time I got it dressed and back to the cabin, I was exhausted. I hung the meat and called it a day. The next morning, a notice was taped to my door. $1,200 HOA fine for unauthorized discharge of a firearm within community limits. I left. I don't live in their community. Turns out, 3 hikers had been on the trail, the same illegal trail, and heard the shot. They reported it to the HOA, and that's when things got ugly. I called the number on the notice, spoke to a man named Craig, HOA president. He was polite at first, but condescending. Said they had received multiple complaints about my dangerous activity. I asked him point blank, "Do you know this trail isn't yours? That it runs through my property?" His response: "The community has used that trail for over a decade. That makes it common access." No, Craig, that's not how property law works. I explained that I had inherited the land, that I had every right to hunt there, and that if he tried to find me again, I'd take legal action. He brushed me off, said he'd consult their attorney. A week later, I received another notice, $1,800 this time, and a warning that repeated violations could result in community sanctions against a person who's not in the community. I was livid. So I called my cousin. He's a real estate lawyer. He looked into the zoning, property boundaries, and trail usage history. Said I was 100% in the clear. Then he told me something interesting. The land the trail crossed wasn't just mine, it continued onto another plot, about 6 acres, owned by a retired couple living out of state. And they were looking to sell. I contacted the owners, told them what was going on. They laughed. Apparently, they'd had similar problems with the HOA years ago, but since they didn't live nearby, they never pursued it. They agreed to sell the land to me at a discount. Within 30 days, the papers were signed. I now own the entire trail from start to finish. Steel gate at both ends of the trail. Posted giant signs, installed trail cameras with motion alerts. Put in a few hidden mix too, just in case someone decided to get mouthy. Then I sent a certified letter to Craig and the HOA board. Included maps, deed copies, and legal notices. Gave them 7 days to remove any mention of the trail from their brochures, website, and promotional materials. The next Saturday, I watched through my camera feed as a group of 15 residents gathered outside the gate, led by Craig. They yelled, shook the fence, called me a nature thief. For protecting private land, they filed a complaint with the county. Claimed I was violating a community agreement. The county sent a surveyor. He verified everything I said. Even confirmed the HOA had no claim to the trail. Game over. Craig resigned 2 months later. The HOA tried to make a new trail, but all the surrounding landowners followed my lead. Posted signs, installed fences. Now, my land is peaceful again. The deer have returned. I get to hunt and live in peace. The hikers are gone, and the HOA. They learned that sometimes the land bites back. If you've ever dealt with an HOA, drop your story below, or just tell me where you're watching from. This is Jack, signing off from the woods where freedom still lives. Oh, and to the HOA that tried to find me. You chose the wrong guy.